Hello everybody, my name is Terraven, and tonight I will be your reader. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to read a few smaller creepypastas instead of the normal. So I want you guys to sit back, listen to the story, relax, turn off the lights, prepare to get scared. A stone quarry is an awful place to be at night, if you've got a nervous disposition like I do. The silhouettes created by the hewn rocks look like stalking figures, and the whole place is haunted by twisting shadows. Even worse, tonight it's raining. The heavy plinking water droplets all around me sounds like white noise that's been turned up too loud. I feel like I could easily be attacked because running footsteps or even a scuffle would be drowned out by the sound of rain. At a time like this, these are the kind of paranoid fantasies I don't need. I've got this tick. I can't stop smacking my lips when I'm nervous. In fact, I'm doing it so loudly right now that I wonder for a second if anyone could hear me over the rain. I even convinced myself I can hear echoing off the geometric walls of this place. I know that's silly, and so I laugh to prove to myself that there's nothing to be afraid of. Still, I wish Mike would hurry. There's nothing more eerie than watching the trenches at the bottom of a quarry fill up with rainwater in the moonlight. I become aware of the crunching of shoes against the gravel only moments before I feel a hand on my shoulder. I jump, and the hand tightens its grip. Spinning around, I see it's only Mike. He's got a big goofy grin on his face, and I know he's pleased about how badly he's scared me. What a dick. Mike helps me move aside the large boulder by which I'm standing. The thing rests inconspicuously against the quarry wall, but if two strong guys really heave on it from the outside, it rolls right out of the way. Behind the boulder is a natural hollow in the rock. Inside the hollow is the scared, haggard little man we've been keeping prisoner. We abducted him a month ago on his way home from work. Somberly, I smashed his head in with a nearby bit of stone. Mike wanted to leave him here to die of thirst after his family couldn't come up with the ransom. I told Mike we couldn't be so cruel. Mike offers to give me a ride back to my place. I smile and thank him. On a night like this, I think I'd die of a heart attack if I had to walk home alone. All this skulking around in the dark plays havoc on my poor Tika. And hell, a stone quarry is an awful place to be at night if you have a nervous disposition. Fuck! I yell out, sweat pouring down my face as I melt away from the stress of the situation. There's my mother, my perfect mother. Caring and understanding mother, lying on the floor semi-conscious after the nasty fall she just had. I turn her over to lay her on her back, and I immediately notice the swelling. She must have hit her head on the floor when she face-planted under the dining room table. The blood is overwhelming, the white tile floor flowing steadily from the large gash on the left side of her neck. She must have caught the corner of the glass tabletop. You know I always stack school books on those tiles over there? That was so stupid and clumsy, Mom. I can't stop looking at the gash on her neck. The swelling is spreading across your forehead, so it looks to be evenly disturbed. But that gash on the side of her neck, it just isn't right. She knows that I can't be put in a situation like this. Never been able to handle them well at all. I love my mother dearly, and I can't watch her bleed out of that gash. I have to do something. Listen to me. You've got to stay still. Do you understand? This may hurt a bit, but you cannot move, or it is just going to be worse. I'll be right back. I run to the kitchen. 2, 3, 2, and click the light switch 6 times. As I approach the night stand, I make sure to rub the green wall counterclockwise 24 times and clockwise 24 times before I lift every knife in the block until I settle on the one that feels best, the paring knife. I skip 2 tiles left, 3 tiles forward, and 2 tiles right, until I am even with my mother. As I bend down over her, I make sure that I even up the blade on the opposite side of her neck where the existing gash is. quit moving. You're going to make a mess of my line. Once it is perfectly symmetrical, I'll get you a towel and call the ambulance, okay? Stay calm. In 1998, I was in grade 7 of school and undergoing a disorienting move from Manitoba to a small town on the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma. I wasn't used to the lack of buildings and, in turn, lack of places to go. The town's main road led straight through its center and consisted of a few restaurants, a shanty motel, and some shopping centers. Beyond that, the only source of entertainment was a bowling alley and a movie theater that always seemed to be a few months behind. My refuge as an only child from my parents were the mounds of dirt and half-built houses that were strewn throughout my developing neighborhood. I would jump from hill to hill as a giant monster or act like I was on the moon. The houses served as secret lairs, caves, and space stations. Every day was a new adventure, and going home was simply a reset. The next day always held new things to discover. I tried to enjoy this as much as I could because I started school the next week. I wasn't sure why my family had to move in the middle of the March break, but at least I got a good fresh restart. That Saturday, we invited over a family from across the street. The dinner my mother spent an hour on consisted of a roast with vegetables. We all happily enjoyed it. I sat in on the conversation that conspired later that evening. The family involved the mother and father of a recently adopted child, a girl of 12. She stayed at home due to the fact that she was still adjusting to her new life, and that was the end of it. They went home without a word more of the mysterious girl, as if they were offended in mentioning of her. One would think an adoption would be something worth talking about. No such case. Sunday came about, and church came with it. A morning where silence and good behavior were expected, and I had to wear my scratchy button-up shirt. We sat in the third pew on the left. The family we met yesterday was there. They sat in the back corner against the wall, keeping their heads down while constantly surveying the room. Between the two of them sat a third smaller person. They wore a short yellow dress and little black shoes that shimmered from the light coming in through the window. It was the girl, or so I assumed. She was covered by a white, embroidered blanket over her head and face. I continued to look back at them, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible to get a good look at them. The couple seemed to be clenching the wrists of the girl, restraining her from getting up, though she wasn't struggling to break free. She didn't even seem fazed by the sheet that segregated her from the world. She just sat stone still. I heard murmuring from behind me, saying she was a demon spawn, but I disregarded it. It being church and people can be overly superstitious. They didn't twitch as the congregation left the chapel. They were waiting to see the priest for something. As I walked by, however, I took a final glance at them. The mother was looking at the front of the church, the father stared at the ground, and through the sheet that separated us, the girl was looking at me. After dinner that Sunday, there was to be another hour of light, and my mother allowed me outside for a short time. As usual, I ran to my favorite house. It was different in that its spindly frame supported a solid ceiling and thus an attic. I could climb up into it. There were a few cracks between the plywood boards that sealed the attic from the cooling spring air, allowing razors of light inside. I had only found it a few days ago, but I hadn't been anywhere since. Upon my initial entry that Friday, it was a little creepy having so little light inside opposed to the other houses, but it quickly became an atmosphere where my imagination could run rampant. This day, however, returned me to the initial feeling that something was watching me in the dark expanse. This was partially due to the time of day, but mostly the day's experience with the girl. Her hidden stare gave me chills from the thought of being seen by one who could not be seen. I would not sleep that night, not because of what happened, but was yet to happen. I went to the attic. It was dark, very dark. There were slivers of soft blue light that entered the cracks, and they obstructed my view of the opposite side of the room. However, without the visual evidence, I could hear something across from me. It was the sound of squishing, crunching, and popping. At my feet, there were shreds of white cloth crawling around my feet in the eddies of wind. I backed against the slanted wall on my left and began to get closer. My visibility slowly grew stronger as I approached, one by one breaking through the walls. I couldn't see fully until I was only a few feet away. I passed through the final beam of light and reached the dark corner. I should have ran away from the start to shield myself from the evil I was about to witness. How was I to know? The only thing that was there in the corner was small, yellow, and had long black hair running down its back. I call her a thing because she did not look fully human. Her face was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen, and to this day, a wide, darkly rimmed mouth was spread across the bottom half of her head. The lower portion of her nose was gone, ripped off and gushing blood, and above this mess lay two gaping holes where her eyes once rested. Disturbing. Further was her lower half. Her legs were gone, torn from her body in a brutal manner. It was horrible that someone would do this to her. At least I wished someone had done it, contrary to the horrible fact that she did it to herself. The sound I initially heard had stopped the moment I saw her. Between her chewed off fingers was a leg. One of two. As it dripped and oozed its blood in a shimmering pool, the girl was turned away from it. She was looking at me again, hollow head, smile wide. I don't know how long I stood there, but I ran home. I didn't utter the word to my parents as I charged by them to my room. I just went to bed and cried. The paper the next morning reported a maimed girl being found. The story was altered, but I knew the truth.